Blessed my family, do you have your copy of the true biblical land of Israel? No? Well, visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, and order your copy today. The True Biblical Land of Israel, originally a theological paper, proves to the reader that the land of Israel, according to the biblical geographic description, is Africa plus Arabia. Most definitely a must read for all. And while you are at it, our other books, namely The Heavens Declare the Glory, Rastafari and the Cosmos, as well as Anu, Ancient and Modern Revisited, are definitely of interest to all. Each book goes for only $20, but when you order the three together, you get them for only $50. So visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us today, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. Blessed reading. Give thanks. Yes, my family, blessed love. Of course, we glorify the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie the First. I give thanks for your presence with us officially this day being the 25th day of April 2022. And of course, those of you who have been following us, you know that today is the day that the supposed royals from Britain would be visiting the shores of Antigua and Barbuda. That is one Prince Edward's and his wife. And of course, a few programs ago, we highlighted to you a letter that was prepared by the Reparations Support Commission here in Antigua, which was specifically penned by the head of such a commission, one Ambassador Dobreen Omar. And actually, what I want to highlight for you in a few moments here is an interview that was done with the very individual that heads the commission that penned the letter, Ambassador Dobreen Omar. And this interview was done with the establishment known as Point FM. And the program was the Brown and Brown Show, which was hosted by Senator Colin O'Neill. So basically, that's enough said. I'm going to go straight into it. I think everyone has caught wind of exactly what I'm presenting, and we'll make the radio program take it from there.
I have waiting to speak to us via Zoom, via virtual means, the chairman of the Antigua and Barbuda Reparations Support Commission. That's Ambassador Dobreen Ahmad. He's also the chairman of the Antigua and Barbuda. The vice chair. He's also the vice chair of the CARICOM Reparations Commission that is being led by Sir Hilary Beckles. I hope I have everything right there so far. Okay, so let's go to the good gentleman, Ambassador Ahmad. How are you this afternoon? How are you?
I'm not doing badly, I have a little tire problem on my right leg, but otherwise than that, I'm hanging in.
Yes, and I'm glad that you have taken the invitation to be with us. We know that on Monday, something is going to be happening here in Antigua Barbuda. I'm sure that you would have heard me with my preambling just now about the visit from the Earl of Wessex, Prince Edward, and the Countess of Wessex, Sophie Rees-Jones. Ahead of this, we're also hearing about a strong letter that was written. The letter notes, and I'm just saying this, briefly saying this, the letter notes that the slave trade's legacy, it continues to be felt in deep injustice and injury, deep-seated injustice and injury. We know for a fact that the Reparations Commission has been out there working for quite some time now. But with the advent of the Earl of Wessex and the Countess of Wessex, do you think it is the appropriate time to do this at this point in time? Do you think it's the right time to do this?
Most appropriate. I mean, in any type of struggle of this nature, one has to seize on the opportunities that become available to them. And this is an ideal opportunity. We have a representative of the Crown here in the country. We have been part of what has now seriously become an international struggle to get both the Crown and the government of Britain to accept responsibility for the slave trade, for slavery, for the genocide of indigenous people in this region, for the deceptive indenture that they placed on Asians to come to this region just after the emancipation of African people. Yeah, this is an opportune time. I mean, it really is a wonderful time. What we are really doing to regionally is that we are joining the voices that have already shouted loudly at representatives of the Crown in Belize, in the Bahamas, in Jamaica. We are joining those voices. We all are part of the CARICOM Reparations Commission, and we have a unified thought and a unified approach to this, that the Crown and Britain must generally accept responsibility for the role they played in the enslavement of African people.
Is this gaining any momentum? You mentioned Jamaica and other places within the territory, but are you saying that this is gathering some level of momentum ahead of the arrival of the Queen of the Prince, the Earl? Sorry, they get me mixed up all the Earl of Wessex and the Countess of Wessex. Yeah. Yes. Do you think that this is gathering some momentum?
Tremendous momentum. I just last night spent 2 hours in the company of the counselors of the North African American Reparations Commission. We are in touch with organizations, newly formed organizations in Europe, newly formed organizations across Africa. One of the existing organizations in England, existing organizations in Canada. One of our goals, certainly for this year, there's been a goal, I would say, for about a year, and will continue to be a goal, I would think, at least for another year, is to make this struggle international, to make the call on Europe international. It is the weapon we have to apply diplomatic pressure on Europe, on the leaders of Europe, on the Crown. We really have no other weapons at our disposal, except the morality of the situation, the ethics of the situation that they must react to. Because as we say in the letter, we know that the whole question of accounting for wrongs is deeply embedded in British society and in British law. And we ask the question at the end of the letter, why are we as African people not being beneficiary of what is your custom? Why? There must be some reason. We obviously know the history of the slave trade. The history of slavery was predicated through their church, through their philosophers, etc., through their politicians, all their thinkers, that Africans were a subhuman species. And we are simply asking if that still exists. Does that thinking still exist? If it doesn't, then we think you should apologize to us. And that apology for us is an acceptance of responsibility.
Do you feel any sense of optimism based on the fact, and the reason for me asking this question, we know that there have been other royal visits to us here in Antigua Barbuda and the rest of the Caribbean, CARICOM countries as well. And there has been this talk about reparations over and over. They have even, we have even signified, identified, and let them know exactly our stance where this is concerned in terms of reparations. All that they're telling us from the royal end, they're saying, listen, it is such an abhorrent thing that has happened, and we're so sorry that this has happened. But we're not seeing that move to give us any sort of compensation. Am I correct in saying so?
You're correct, but that is the work, isn't it? That is what we're aiming for. That is what we're striving for. And I think, I mean, if you reference the letter again, is that we suggested to Prince Edward or Earl of whoever, we have suggested to him that we have heard this time and time again. We heard this nonsense. And it is as though for them that we must accept the fact that slavery and the slave trade just fell out of the clear blue sky. That it was not an act, a willful act that Europeans imposed on Africans. This whole idea that, oh, it was an abhorrent thing and a stain, etc., sounds as though no one is responsible for it. That this thing just happened, like an earthquake, like a volcano, hurricane, these things that happen. But we're saying to them, no, we know that is not so. We know the history of your involvement as family and your involvement as institution. We know that history. And we not only know it from our historians, we also know it from your historians. Because believe me, Colin, a lot of the work revealing the details of this trade is coming from young English, young European academics that are digging into the records for us, records that we perhaps would not have had access to. And so it's not only a question of us, working around a flimsy claim. Your point, about, that we have been talking reparations for a while, it has not been that long, it really has not bbeen that long. The CARICOM Reparations Commission is not yet 10 years old. And in terms of struggle of this nature, 10 years is a joke. I just looked at the struggle against apartheid. That went on for nearly 80 years, and so those of us who are presently involved in this struggle, we understand, as our leader likes to say, that we're talking marathon here. We're not talking sprint. And what you are seeing now, I mean, and in terms of what you said also, I don't think we have had a royal visit since this whole reparations issue has virtually become a household name, a household activity across this region. So 2 years ago, I think, 3 years ago, Prime Minister Blair, former Prime Minister Blair, I think it was Cameron, one of the British Prime Ministers, came to Jamaica and told the Jamaican Parliament that we should just forget this and move on. And it was interesting to hear the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, tell the last royal couple that visited Jamaica a few weeks ago that we are moving on, and moving on to republic, which I think is what he intimated to them. I mean, on the basis of Blair Cameron's comment that we must move on. Yes, this Caribbean must move on, and we must move on to two things. That is to ultimate sovereignty, which is becoming a republic, and we must move on in this call for reparations, in striving for reparations. That is the direction we must move in. That is the direction we are moving in.
Quite agree. Yeah. Go ahead, Lamin.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Mr. Omar.
My brother.
Yes. We here in the Caribbean, we have been speaking about this whole aspect of reparations. We have spoken about this ad nauseum. And
no, we haven't. Why are you saying that?
Well, hold on, because ever since I can remember, I have been hearing about the whole aspect of reparations. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but just for the purpose of our discussion. However, you just mentioned about Prime Minister Andrew Holness saying that it's time for us to move on. How prepared are we to move on, if I may say, if we are not receiving any sort of compensation from slavery? Because at some point, it becomes tiresome and exhaustive, and, we may just have to move on. How prepared are you to move on if we, in no way are receiving any sort of compensation?
Oh, no, our movement forward towards the Republic is not dependent on any compensation. These are political acts that we can take without any compensation at all. Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica is a republic, Guyana is a republic, Barbados has just become a republic. We have one particular challenge that perhaps Dominica didn't have, a challenge that many of the other independent, non-republic countries in this region have. Our challenge is that to move to a republic, we have to deal with a constitutional change. And that will require some 2/3 majority of the voting peoples to make that constitutional change. Now, that is our challenge. That is the work to be done. And we understand this because we have had experience of attempting to join the Caribbean Court of Justice.
Correct.
When we saw that rejected by people in this country, by the word of how it go, the word of the people is the word of God, or the other way around.
Yes.
That we have had that rejection. And so therefore,
okay, before you advance in your statement, since you have mentioned the referendum that we've had with the Caribbean Court of Justice and the Privy Council, do you think that at that point in time that would have been the opportune time for us to start to think about having at least some semblance of a change in terms of moving away from holding on to the coattail of the imperialist structure?
Well, that is what the move to the CCJ was about.
But do you think that we have dropped the ball at that point in time when we decided to stay with the Privy Council?
Listen, we can't say the voice of the people and refer to it as dropping the ball.
Now, family, give thanks again for the life giver and the keeper of life in all good doings and sayings. Of course, give thanks again for your presence with us. As I said earlier, we just highlighted an interview that was done with the head of the Reparations Support Commission here in Antigua, that is Ambassador Dobreen Omar. In fact, he's the I think vice chairman, deputy chairman of the regional, I think it's the OECS Reparations Support Commission. He was basically speaking there as it relates to the visit of the Duke of Wessex, which is the son of Queen Elizabeth II. And of course, you know, they're coming around here celebrating her jubilee and at the same time still celebrating her birthday, which would have passed a few days ago. And again, an open letter was penned by the Reparation Commission to the Duke, Prince Edward, his name is, and this today, the 25th day of April, is when he should be coming through. Of course, this interview went into more details. As I said, you could find this on Point FM. Point FM, you could find it on Facebook as well. You can go and observe the fullness for yourself. But I would say that I definitely will be looking to give you an update on what would have taken place today. Of course, in the Tiger's Nest tonight on Radio Anu, of course, 7 p.m. sharp, the Tiger's Nest. Of course, you know what to do. And remember, at the same time, although yesterday was the sealing day, we're going to extend it to today, because even when I really think about it, remember all the programs we did previous, Strong in the Tiger's Nest. Remember, everything was connected, even up to the visit today. Everything is still connected, you know, with the anniversary of the visitation of the emperor coming from the Lent with the Coral Gardens massacre. This is why I was saying, once you order the Tiger's Nest before the 24th, well, once you subscribe, I should say, to the Tiger's Nest radio program before the 24th, which we are extending to today, the 25th. When you subscribe, if you subscribe to the Tiger's Nest today, as you're not a subscriber, we will give you the previous 2 strong worth of the Tiger's Nest. And as I said, when you really listen them in chronological order, you come to realize that all the programs are linked. All the events that has just taken place last week and the week before, from the visitor, what his name there, William and Kate, even the Rwandan president, and then this visit coming down the line here now, and of course the post of the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. We spoke of all of that, and then of course our anniversary of the visitation of Haile Selassie I coming out of the land with the Coral Gardens massacre, and so many different things we were highlighting and showing you, even Earth Day, and so many different things. And we call the stuff there 420, and we showed you how everything is tied in, you know, how everything works in one. Is a lot of thick political geopolitics taking place here, and a lot of secret science happening at the same time. So it's something that we have to look into. But as I said, listen to the Tiger's Nest this evening. And again, subscribe to the Tiger's Nest. Very, very inexpensive if you are going to miss the program. And even if you're not going to miss the program, you should still definitely subscribe to the Tiger's Nest and make sure you have it. But as you are hearing, you are listening to the good brother speak, and the interview goes on. I mean, as you heard the brother said, reparations is basically a new thing. About 10 years now, the Reparation Commission was formed. And this is what I'm saying, you know, with all due respect to even the brother, Rastafari get totally overlooked, underlooked all the time. You know, how long Rastafari talking about reparation? Definitely not 10 years ago. How long, whether we call it something else, but how long we talking about compensation for the atrocity of slavery? As I said, you know, when we did one of the programs for the Tiger's Nest, the professor that was on Running Africa last week, you remember what he said there? He himself acknowledged Rastafari and reparations, the struggle for reparations. But he said that the fight that began with Rastafari has been taken up by the Caribbean intellects. So as I said before, there has been a clear separation made between the Rastafari and these intellects. This is why, you know, a person like me, I could sit and listen to this interview, and it's a nice interview. Yeah, there'll be a part where they talk about education and putting African history in the schools and all of that stuff. I mean, when I listen to these things, you know, I've even passed the stage of shaking my head. You understand? Yeah, remember, this is not an international thing you're watching here. This is a small society right here in Antigua and Barbuda. But you see, I'm telling you straight, there's still a scorn against Rastafari. I'm telling you, I'm not asking it. I am a living example of what I say here. You understand? So you would have gone out of your way. Remember, we just sealed the 9th anniversary of the essay competition for African History Monday. The very same Reparations Support Commission, this good brother that you're looking at here. In fact, all these people you're looking at here on the screen, not only do they know about the essay competition, they would have received their invitations, and even, as I said, even prior to invitation, the whole idea would have been penned and papered and would have gone around to those who are of importance. As I said, the host of the show is a senator, you know. So it's, we don't overlook nobody, you know. We make sure you understand what the mission is. And it has always been a success. So it's obvious that, as we always say, the reparation vibration must start with education. That is why some people are not even interested in no reparation, because they have no background education. There's no need for them to really, you know, lean towards that. As the essay competition title is every year, what does African history mean to me? And as I always say to most of these young ones, it doesn't mean nothing. To most of the old ones, it doesn't mean nothing, because there was nothing put in place for it to mean anything. So now when you come and speak of things of an Afrocentric nature, because asking for reparation for the atrocities of slavery is an Afrocentric thing, you know. So if you're deep into Christianity and deep into Jesus, and so it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard. Don't get me wrong, that Jesus people that into reparation. I mean, a lot of these people here talking about reparation is Christians and the Roman Catholics. They are. So that's why they stick at reparation, repatriation, and all these things is far out of the agenda now. That's out the window a long time. It has been seriously watered down. So even when he says, yeah, man, it's 10 years ago, this reparation thing became a big thing. That may be so to some degree, because Rastafari speak about repatriation internationally, free waterway, free the seabed, freedom of movement. That is our cry, man. Freedom of movement internationally, 4 winds. Reparation, as it's called, is just a part of that whole package there. And then even that, which we more refer to as compensation, has some strict details to it, as when it happens and how it happens and where the money is banked and etc., etc. And we as Rastafari, we support the reparation people, man. But that's a hijacked agenda, eh? You better believe it. The Rastafari agenda has been hijacked. Yes, by the intellects, straight up, as they're called. Because somehow Rasta ain't got no intellect. I tell you how it is. Ones when they get in a corner, they clearly have been asked several times. Statements have been made to me several times by some mystic type of people. You'll be surprised with telling me them things here. That I too smart to be a Rasta. That's a serious insult there. That's to show you how ones think of Rastafari. From the time I bust them into till now, don't make nobody fool you. That's why they grin and and just take everything away from us, even up to the so-called reparation agenda. Yeah. I'm going to fast forward just a touch and seal with a little bit more of this interview here.
But how do we get past this as a people in terms of edifying our people about the ethnocentric imposition of the imperialists, which is...
Hear this question. They want to know how to get past all of this. You know what I mean? Listen to the question.
How do we get past this as a people in terms of edifying our people about the ethnocentric imposition of the imperialists, which is now...
You think these people really want the answer to this question here?
A legacy with us from their religious organizations, their religious institutions, their banking institutions, their educational institutions. How do we get past this as a people? The very Constitution. How do we get past this? How do we edify our people?
Now, this is what I'm saying. We ask this question all the time. I hear it every day. Sometimes I wonder if we're just entertaining ourselves when the answer is here. That's why I ask if you believe these. When I say these people, not necessarily just the person asking the question. This is something on the ground, This is something on the ground. And many people who are very defensive against reparation, they come in a semi-conscious cloak, but yet still very pessimistic about it. Well, yeah. They deserve to give us, but hey, man, that never ever happen right now, Best we just think about something else and all of these different things. As I told one priest, I am of the philosophy that where the earthquake, lightning, thunder are the hands of man, the freedom and redemption will come. I really believe in the hands of man thing, that we ourselves, as I said, the education process, this is why I'm not just talking it. The education process, we can't tell me we're waiting for some scholarships to go to them universities. No, man, even if that's a part of the package, we can't start there. Oh no, before you get them education from them, you gotta edify yourself, or else you're gonna run into their education with problems. You gotta edify yourself before you go to their universities, yo. Nah, man, you can't leave education in their hands. That's a big trick. You gonna leave education in their hands? Nah, man. At least start off with your own education from scratch. Make sure by the time the youth is 10, 12, 13, you can say, okay, go and listen to what He's saying now. Go and listen to what Professor Nuts is saying and see. But be careful. Be careful, because he's gonna try to tell it this. You see, Columbus is his uncle. He's gonna try to tell it this. Because Alexander the Fake is his grandfather. He's gonna try to tell it this. Because they never loved Kunta Kinte. So you gotta be very wise and very careful and very skillful as you listen. I no disrespect to Professor Nussman, that's an international hip hop legend.
I mean, you're asking wonderful questions. You're also asking hard questions. But to do this, you know, we have a very peculiar situation here in Antigua and Barbuda, where our civic engagement on matters of this sort is virtually nil. Since the absence of Leonard Tim Hector and the ACLM, we have not seen the emergence of any particular organization that is prepared to champion these issues. The Reparations Commission is a government-appointed commission. It is not as free as it ought to be, or many people think it is, to deal with some of these issues. And so for me, moving forward on these types of constitutional issues, I think will require the leadership from both major political parties in this country. Because those two main political parties, of course, and we do have a third one, the DNA, but those parties essentially are the mass movement, the mass movements in this region at this point in time. And I feel, well, we do have an organization called ABCRE, which is the Constitutional Reform Movement. I think the work of ABCRE will become important here. But I think that there is need for some sort of political consensus. I do not think, and as in an advisory capacity from the Reparations Commission, I do not think we would be advising Prime Minister Brown necessarily to go back to a referendum on CCJ until we have had a number of issues resolved politically.
All right, I will leave it at that. As I say, my good brothers and sisters, you could specifically go to the source and you could definitely take in the rest of that. But I'm going to invite you to make sure you join me this evening at 7 p.m. sharp for the Tiger's Nest. Again, if you're not going to be there, just link me up, of course, Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com, and let me know, hey man, I need to get all them Tiger's Nest for the 2 previous week, and I need to hook up with the Tiger's Nest for tonight, and give me a month subscription and whatever, give me a 6-month subscription, give me a year subscription, family. I mean, the program is gonna come down like to something, 20 something cents per program. Extremely economical, and of course, something that you could definitely store in your archives. Every program at the Tiger's Nest is a smash, man. Yeah, man, as I always say, there are many, many lions' dens, but there's only one Tiger's Nest. Yes, family, give thanks. Jah Rastafari. Yes, sir. Blessed my family. Do you have your copy of the True Biblical Land of Israel? No? Well, visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, and order your copy today. The True Biblical Land of Israel, originally a theological paper, proves to the reader that the land of Israel, according to the biblical geographic description, is Africa plus Arabia. Most definitely a must-read for all. And while you are at it, our other books, namely The Heavens Declare the Glory, Rastafari and the Cosmos, as well as Anu, Ancient and Modern Revisited, are definitely of interest to all. Each book goes for only $20, but when you order the 3 together, you get them for only $50. So visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us today, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. Blessed reading. Give thanks.